I'm Eric Russell. I am out and about with the amazing JRED Jones. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
So, how did you get into mixing music? I mean, what got you into it? How did you start? And what are the differences in house edit, dub edit, radio edit? How does this all happen? How did it start?
Okay, so well, first how I started. Ever since I've always been into music, listening to music. I mean, growing up, I remember my mom playing lots of like Motown and stuff like that. So music has always been a part. But then when I started in probably I'd say like middle to high school, I was in band, and so that gave me kind of a inner working of like, so how is all this stuff made and done and everything. And so I would always hear something like, oh, no, I want to change this, or this should sound like this. That's not done how, it should be. And that kind of sparked my interest in, it wasn't until really, probably about 2000, 2001, when computer technology started to come around, where people didn't need to go into a big studio and to be able to do this kind of stuff. And it was still kind of rough. And so I started playing around with things then, and, one thing led to another, and here we are today,
Yeah, because you mixed for some amazing people. RuPaul, Ari Gold, Manila Luzon, and Linda Carter. I saw Linda Carter going, oh my God. It's like, yes, you've mixed for Wonder Woman? Tell me about this. Linda Carter.
Well, actually, it was a recommendation from Ru.
Okay.
They're actually friends, which is funny to think about RuPaul and Wonder Woman.
They go together.
Together.
They go together.
Why
has she not been a judge? I'm throwing it out there right now. I'm just saying. Looking out for Linda. Hello. Okay.
And so he put us together, and hopefully the mixes will be out soon. It's been a trial and error because she's never done any kind of dance music material like this, so it's new territory. But basically, she invited me up to DC to her show at the Kennedy Center. Saw the show. We went to the after party, met up with her, and then I got with her producer and sent me all the things, and we made it happen. And hopefully they'll be out there for everyone to enjoy soon.
So when someone like RuPaul or Ari Gold has a song, how does the whole process work? Because even I go like, I don't understand how it goes from here's this thing, but then you have so-and-so's mix, and then they have a dub mix, and they have an edit. How does that happen? What's the process?
Every artist is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because, like, say for Ru, he always starts with Lucian. They always do the album. They get their the whole package together, and then usually what he'll do is he'll call like me or some other producer remixer, and he'll say I'm gonna release this as a single. I'd like a remix. And usually they just pass you along the vocals.
Okay.
And then it's like, do what you want with it.
Okay.
What's your interpretation of this song? With Ari, I tend to work with Ari a little bit closer, especially on this last album that he put out, which is a remix album. So I coordinated all the remixers for the project. And then we did 2 new productions together. So basically he wrote a song, gave it to me, and said, I want this kind of style or feel, and we kind of went back and forth to work out how he wanted it to sound. But generally, it's just sending the vocal files and, have fun with this.
And then you rework the sound, the beats, the whole tempo.
The whole thing.
Now, when you do see, like, dub, edit, and what do those different things mean? Is it just the style that it's in? Like, a radio edit might not have, like, all the fun words sometimes we like to hear.
Yeah, a radio edit. So a radio edit is usually, in general, is usually edited down. The golden rule is 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
And that's usually a clean version because
it's the radio.
You can't say explicit words on the radio. And then usually the club mix or house mix or whatever they want to call it is usually the club version that DJs would use to mix out in a nightclub. And a dub is usually when you strip the vocals, or either you sample just a word or a line or something else. So it's basically instrumental with like little hints of the vocalist.
Now I have learned something. No clue, because I like that one. What's it called? Is it on the iTunes? Yay! You have your own. You've done this for a while. You start off as, I made my notes because I got ready, and I've highlighted, but it was, you go by JRED for your album stuff.
Well, that's the record label.
That's a record label.
Yeah, that's a record label.
begin with a V, and I'm just gonna go like, oh, not video. Oh,
Vibalicious.
thank you. Going, hang on, I know here in some color I've highlighted it. Going Vibalicious. What made you change from Vibalicious? Because I looked and sampled some of the stuff, getting ready, going, these are really great, to just being Jared Jones and then JRED music and all that. What made the change from Vibalicious to?
Starting out with Vibalicious, it was it was kind of a collaborative effort with different people. Okay. It was about 4 different ones, and it was always me and someone else.
Okay.
And at that point, it was because these people had either better equipment, better software, better music knowledge, whatever it may be, to kind of advance us forward. So instead of it being like the Jared Jones and John Doe mix, we came up with a name, to encompass all of it. And then kind of it just became me eventually because I started learning new things and being better at what I was doing. Okay. And so that's when I decided just to go by my name for Remixes. And then JRED is just, it was a nickname when I was a kid. And I was trying to think of when I wanted to start my own record label, which I just launched basically like a month ago.
Okay, there we go.
That I was like, what can I name this? And I was sitting there, and I was like, well, you know what? Basically, what it made me decide is I was in Photoshop, and the logo looked really good, and I said, there you go, that's what it is.
That's how that works. No, that's really awesome. Who are some people you would like to work with that you haven't had a chance to, or you really want to work with them in upcoming projects? Because you've got some amazing people here. You did Taylor Dane, again, Vanilla Luzon, RuPaul.
Auntie Ru.
Auntie Ru.
That's what I call her.
And you were crowned unofficially, the remixer of Drag Race.
Yes, because I've worked with not every single, but most of the girls on Drag Race have been pushed my way in some form, whether it be featuring, or it's a remix or a production, or
Do you send you a tiara, a sash, or just like it's like you just been dumped?
No, it's just a
been
title.
Dumped. Okay.
Yeah. But so what? I don't. We got so far off the question.
Sorry, we're sorry about shiny sparkles and tiaras. No. But just who would you like to work with?
Who would I like to? Okay. Yes. I love Crystal Waters.
Yeah. Okay.
I love Crystal Waters. I remember I was
100% pure love.
Yeah. Well, even Gypsy Woman. I was little. I made my mom go buy me the cassette tape. Because I watched MTV and I was like, who is this lady? And I liked it. And so then I followed her ever since then, and I've always loved her. So I love to work with Crystal Waters. A lot of the 90s, divas like Cece Peniston, Robin S. I've done Taylor Dane, so that was my first actually commercially released remix. So that was
that was how many?
Yeah. Okay. And so that was a good kind of first out the gate kind of thing. Fun. But I think people like that, they're just people that I followed for so long, and they're still around doing their music and putting it out there. And there's a couple other people that I like to work with, but my T-shirt is Michael Jackson, but of course Michael Jackson's no longer with us. And I would love to work with Janet, but I do have one Jackson in my fold. I worked with LaToya. So we have a Jackson.
You have a Jackson. Collect them like trading cards. Which one do you have? That's really cool though. Do you ever just decide I like this song, I'm just going to go ahead and do a remix and send it to them to see if they like it, or do you wait till they send you something?
There are tracks that I like. The thing is, and this probably makes me sound a little bit like snobbish of a remixer, but unless I can get the vocal tracks, I usually don't do something. There are a lot of people who would do bootlegs and they'll just use the album version. And to me,
you want the original source to start with and work.
I want the source to work from, because if you do something from the album version, you really can't mold it to what you want, because you're kind of stuck in what
somebody
they've
else's
done.
Yeah, okay. What are some things you've learned along the way about remixing music and working in the industry and with different people's art and stuff? Do you get notes back going, I really didn't like that, or you get the note and you're going, maybe they didn't, I'm not sure, I liked it, but
I get anything and everything, and I get that all the time. And there are times where I'm like, what are they trying to say to me? Especially because a lot of singers, they're not like they're not well versed in the language of producing,
Okay.
or so it's kind of a communication barrier sometimes of what they want. And then sometimes it's just like, I don't know what they're thinking,
Okay.
you know. And so, and then, you know, then on the other hand, you have times where they're like, oh, this is awesome, this is great, I love this. But yeah, definitely, I mean, you know, I go into it expecting someone to send back some kind of changes or you know, things like that, just because, you know, I mean, yes, they've hired me for my sound that I've put out there,
Okay.
but they also wanted to reflect them too and not lose, you know,
Who they
are,
are, these things
right.
like them. Who have been your top 5 like remixes you've just went, oh my god, this was amazing? Top 5.
Okay, I would have to say I really love my remix of Glamazon by Rue.
Okay.
I really, really love my remix of Hot Couture by Manila.
I have both first.
Let's see. There's so many that I've done. I would say that I really, and this is not a well-known group, but they're both friends of mine that live in New York. They're called Naked Highway.
Okay.
The song is called Cause This. And I really love my remix of that. And actually, it was funny because they did a lot of college radio promo, and they sent my version out along with the other package, and everyone kind of gravitated towards my version. So they actually went in and redid the music video to my version of the track. So that was, I think that was something because it got such
you
a
got a video.
positive
It's like,
response.
from this to a video. I have a video too. Yes.
And then I would have to say, just because, you know, it's the first commercially remix that I had put out would be Taylor Dane, and it's just a milestone for me. And
Right.
it's today I listen to it and I'm like, oh, that's not my best work.
I want to go back and redo it.
Yeah,
Kind of like maybe Luke is going, Star Wars, now I'm going to go back and redo the whole thing, but all the stuff I wanted to do. No, I think as artists we go back and look at the works we've done and going, oh, I could have done that a little, could you go back and look what we've done and we can see we've made progress, and you're like, oh, I could have done something different with that, or tweaked it, but learning moments.
Yeah, but you know, and I'll listen to stuff like that, but I would say those are the remixes, and anything that I've actually done production on, like that I produced the original version, is always a favorite of mine. You know, which was like the Chop for Manila and Latrice. And then I did on Ari Gold's remix album, we did Details of My Life.
Okay.
So any of them that I've been, you know, the producer, like this was the original version to put out there.
Now, when you're producing, because people come up with like, they say, I'm a producer. Okay, well, what is the process of producing a whole song or an album? What goes into that? What are your responsibilities, and what's the process like?
Well, you know, a remix versus being a remixer or a producer, it's kind of the same thing.
All right.
Except usually, you know, when you're remixing something, there's already a version done. There's already a complete version. They have the original done. When you're doing production, basically, I mean, you're starting from scratch. You know, they're whoever it may be writes the lyrics. You have to come up with the actual musical track.
Okay.
And then it's, you know, recording all the vocals, mixing it all in, doing any changes, you know.
And that's not done at the same time. You've got like, oh, the string people are coming in today, the backups are today.
Yeah. So generally, because, you know, everything that I do is in a computer. So, you know, there are times when there are live players. Guitars are one thing that just don't sound good very synthesized.
Right.
Most other things today,
you can
get past it, especially on some of the budgets that we have. You know, you know, because the music industry has changed, and people are not making, you know, these huge profits off of it, especially the independent people.
Right.
So, you know, you've got to be budget conscious too when you're doing a production. You know, I can't be like, oh, I want a 20-person gospel choir to sing the backup. Well, where are we going to afford a 20-person gospel choir?
We're going to find one, and then. Exactly.
So, you know, and so basically producing a track is you're starting from scratch.
Okay.
There's no platform to start from.
Talk about your new record label that you have.
I started, well, like I said earlier, we launched about a month ago.
Okay.
And it came from an idea because I've released my work through one of my friends' labels.
Okay.
But I like to have control. that's
It's just what it's like.
It's mine, and if something fails, it's on me. It's not because someone else didn't do their part. So I kind of started thinking, okay, I want to do this, and I kind of put the pieces together kind of roughly, and then I've been talking to Levi Christ, which I've done. Which this is the first single from the label. It's on iTunes. So I talked to him, and I had done 2 remixes for him previously, and I had done a remix of "Gonna Be Alright" actually 4 years ago.
Okay.
The track never came out. He won the Tony, and of course blew up,
right.
And so it kind of got lost under the shuffle. And so we were having a conversation, and I was like, I've always really liked this track. What can we do with this to get it out? And so we worked it all out, and he recorded some new vocals for it to make it more dance friendly. And he's like, well, this can be released on your label. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's the perfect launch. I mean, hey, how often do you get a Tony Award winner?
Exactly.
Like, here you go. Here's my track.
That's amazing. And of course, you're right here in Richmond.
Yes.
People keep thinking, oh, I've got to go to LA, or I've got to be in Miami, I've got to be in New York, and you're doing this all right here in the RVA.
Oh yes. It helps to be in like New York or LA at times, but with everything today, I mean, everything's done virtually.
Yeah.
And it's good to meet up, like maybe contacts and things like that. But you can do it if you really focus in, and you meet the right people, and you have the work to back you up. You can get in there and do it. I mean, it's not easy, but
But I think you made a key point. It's like meeting the right people, and I guess it's like putting that positive spin. Like really, you represent yourself when you meet these people. What advice would you give to someone who's really trying to break in this, and they're starting to meet people? What are some things not to do?
Well, one, don't expect to make lots of money. Do it for fun, or because you love it.
Right.
That's the main thing, because I've been at this for 13 years now, and it took a good 10 years before I ever saw any kind of money coming in that I was like, okay, now this is kind of becoming more than just a hobby.
It's becoming an income.
Right. A lot of people go into meeting someone, and they think that they have to be, I guess they have to act like a star. They have to have this attitude about them, and it really turns people off. And I've seen that a lot with newer artists that I've met. They'll we'll have discussions, and they'll say, or they'll want this or want that, or different requests that they've made. And it's like, you have to realize where you're at in your career, and you have to be realistic about it.
Right.
You can't release a song on iTunes and say, well, I'm on iTunes now, so now I'm a star.
Right.
But no, I mean, always.
The song is still 99 cents.
Right, the song is still 99 cents, and you might sell 20 of the first one, But I would say, to just don't be rude. I think that's the main thing, because there's so many people in the music industry that I've encountered that just have awful attitudes, and they're not open and willing to work with people, and it's with the way the industry is now, it's people kind of have to come together to kind of help each other out.
And it's all a collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
It's give and takes.
Yeah.
What's your top 3 things that you do that you feel set you apart from other remixers and producers that make people want to come work with you time and time again?
Well, I'm persistent, for one.
Okay.
I didn't give up. And Manila's a perfect example of that. I've sent her 2 or 3 emails and didn't get a reply, but I'm like, I want to work with Manila. I love Manila. And finally, she replied and then was like, oh, I know who you are, because I had worked with Rue.
Okay.
And so, I think it's because I'm persistent. A lot of people will send one email, they don't get a reply.
And they stop.
2, I think it's, my sound is me, but I've also done so many very different things that a lot of people come to me because they'll be like, well, I want this style of remix or this style of production, and I'm able to do that. where I know a lot of people get kind of, they only do, you know, like, they only do a house record, or they only do an R&B record, or
they don't do anything else.
yeah, they don't do anything else. And I've kind of varied up, you know, things that I've done, and you know, I'm like, okay, what do you want?
Right.
Hey, and the third one, you know, I would like to think, you know, it's just because I'm easy to work with. You know, I don't make a big fuss, or you know, I'm not difficult. You know, I try
Just
to
easygoing,
try to
nice,
make it
polite.
easy, and try to make it easy and fun for everybody.
That's fantastic. If people want to find your music and remixes, how can they do that? Do you have a website? How do they find you on the iTunes or all that stuff?
You can go to www.jredmusicofficial.com. On iTunes, probably the best thing is just to search Jared Jones, and that'll bring up remixes, since my remixes are all varied all over the place from different artists' websites. And then, of course, on Facebook, facebook.com/JREDofficial, and Twitter's the same thing. So it's all there.
It's all there. This has been fantastic. Thank you for being here. I have been out and about with the amazing producer and music remixer, Jared Jones. You never know where I'll turn up next, so tune in next time. See you.